Join me. Together, we can rule the galaxy far from sun.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
Hello there, Space Wizards, Plastic Spacemen, and Rebel Princesses. This is Todd Hoffman and Trent Hoffman, and you're listening to Big T and Little T, a Star Wars podcast. Welcome to episode 124. Today, we're going to be talking about Andor, episode 11. Unfortunately, my little buddy Trent couldn't join me today. A little scheduling conflicts, but that's okay. He's coming back very, very soon, and we're going to miss him today, but he is here in force spirit. Again, please catch us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Big T Little T. Playing a lot of Fortnite there. Just having a great time. Just recently posted some highlights from last couple of gaming sessions, and we're just having a great time. So check that out. A lot of fun. Trent and I recently just started basketball through our local church. So I'm helping coach, and so we just started basketball this 2 weeks ago, and it's been a lot of fun, and just enjoying that so far. Getting to learn the fundamentals of basketball. So yeah, just really having a great time there. And we hit a historic mark on November 18th is when we first released of 2019, when we first released our first episode of Big T Little T. Seems like so long ago, but just recently. So yeah, that's when I believe it was the 12th of November of 2019 is when Mando first released. They did like a weird kind of like Tuesday, and I think it was a Friday thing. They kind of did two episodes close together, and yeah, we're just in Mando heaven there. So had a lot of Mando fever, and yeah, it was just great looking back on the timeline and be like, oh my gosh, that was already 3 years ago. So stay tuned later. We'll talk about when we're going to celebrate our 3-year anniversary, but it is happening very, very soon here. But yes, so we are going to be talking about Daughters of Ferrix, Daughters of Ferrix, and that is the topic of the week here for episode 11 of Andor. Season 1 is getting closer and closer to wrap up. It's been a wild ride. Okay, so this is called Daughters of Ferrix, and let's see. What does the official description say? It says, fugitive once more, Cassian must make his next move before it's too late. Yeah, things are happening right now. Okay, so we kind of see Cassian and Melshi, our boy, kind of like fugitives on the run, and they are trying to get out of prison. So they're climbing like a high cliff, and they're hanging on, and Melshi's like, hey, I can't feel my fingers. And so there's a lot of patrols looking for, obviously, the fugitives that left Narkin 5, and so that is pretty cool. But then we kind of flash back, and we understand that Mama Ferrix, or Mama Andor, the daughter of Ferrix here, passed away. So it's Marva Andor, and so she passed, and we got B2 very sad, and it's like crazy. And then we also have kind of looking the ISB guy with the coffee kind of looking at the bar. We got a little Starbucks going on. It's great. This is all great stuff. So we switch back again to Andor and Melshi, and we get to see a quad jumper. Now, we haven't seen a quad jumper since The Force Awakens in the Jakku, and that is the quad jumper is what blows up from one of the TIE fighters, and then Rey makes that famous line, piece of junk will do, and that's when we know that they're gonna drive the Falcon for the first time in a long time. And so yeah, we get to see a quad jumper, and then dude, these two fishers are fantastic. yeah, they're just great. They are these cool little creatures, and we have essentially Melshi and Cassian make a run for it. They get snagged by this netting, and they are not too happy. So we have one kind of talking in like a native dialogue and one talking in a kind of basic. I love these two. These guys are great. They look fantastic. They're awesome. So then then we switch back, and now we're back to Ferrix, and we have a conversation with Miro, and I believe the guy's named Tigo. I don't know. They don't say their names here, but it's Miro, and she's trying to understand what the funeral procession is and what's going on. And because Marva is a prominent figure, they want to provide a local permit to shut down the streets. And so Miro's like, give it to them. We want to see if it draws in Cassian. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. So then we kind of jump back to Narkina 5, and we have the brothers, and I think they're called Dewey and Freddie. So Dewey and Freddie are doing their thing. They're kind of toying with them, and they could possibly get a bounty for these prospects. And so they kind of talk about how the Empire's prison is tainting the water, all that kind of fun stuff. And so they kind of have a change of heart, and they say, yes, we'll give you the freedom. And so they all depart from there. Then we kind of go back. Then we're back to Coruscant, and Val revisits Luthen's little antiquity shop, and Keela's there, and they have an icy conversation. Keela's like, what are you doing? And what are you trying to do? And yeah, it doesn't go well for Val, because Val is breaking protocol, and yeah. And so Keela's like, hey, I'm not telling you where, Luthen is. You're on your own, And so we have Cinta and our guy that loves Starbucks, some space calf, and just trying to understand what's going on. And B2's kind of there, like moping around and like, I don't want to do anything. And then again, we have Bix reflecting on her torture. She's just kind of dazed out, doing all that kind of stuff. And then we got Krieger. Now, if Krieger kind of looks like me, a little bit bald, like little cap, and I have one of my buddies, Extra Techie, do a meme of me. Great. Thank you, Extra Techie. You're the best. Sean, you're the best. So, shout out to Sean there. And so, yeah, he made me into Krieger with my Dunkin' Donuts cup. Hey, it's okay. It's all good. It was awesome. So, but she doesn't really say anything because she's like, is this the guy? And so here's another fun thing. So now Val goes back to the embassy, and there's Mothma, and Lita is participating in a courtship ritual which involves chanting a vow, and they're all dressed in blue. It kind of looks like, Girl Scouts or something or whatever. And they kind of talk through how she's transferring money, and there's 400,000 missing. There's a little fudging going on, and you can tell that Val is like, she understands what's happening, but then the one thing that Mon Mothma is just awesome, and you could tell she's just really struggling. That essentially she's reaching out this kind of with Tay and that contact. I forget that guy's name. I don't even know, but they're going to start this courtship, I think, is what the agreement was. Again, it was something that she didn't want to do with him last episode, but then obviously because everything is going tight, it seems that actually that Lita is like on board with this, maybe? I don't know. Then we get a nice thing. Again, Cyril. We're back on Coruscant, and Cyril chats with one of his colleagues, see Linus Mosk. And Linus Mosk has got that kind of Irish brogue and something going on. And there's a lot of things happening. And of course we have Cyril's mom like nosing in the background. But it's interruptive it's the telecommunications or the comm is not real good for this HoloNet transmission, but we get the idea that, you know, Cassian's mom passed away, and it's possible that he might go back to Ferrix. Obviously mom's like her son's former triumph is being vanquished, and so the transmit ends, and so we have Cyril kind of making a decision like, what am I going to do? So then we go back to Miami Vice planet Neomos, and we see Cassian back in the refresher with his stash. We got the Briar pistol, we got Nemec's manifesto, we got a bunch of credits, and he sees like these two we see these two aliens sleeping in the bed. Again, that's the same alien that's sleeping in the bunk next to Jin, so we got that. I don't remember the species names. It happens. I don't remember, but it's the same species that we see Jin when she's in her prison. So now Cassian's got all his credits, and Melshi's like, we gotta tell people. But then when Cassian reaches out to home, we get this conversation like, she passed, and Melshi's like, everything great, and Andor plays it off. Yep, everything's fantastic. But we realize that it's not, and Melshi and him kind of part ways and say, okay, see ya later. Now we got Luthen going back to Saw and talking to Two Tubes, and so we have this, you know, the proposal that Saw heard last time with Luthen, not good. Now Saw's like, hey, tell Krieger we're gonna work. I'll join the raid. You know, I want to help support him. And so that he, and kind of, this is a fun little conversation with Luthen and Saw, that it turns out, yeah, my sources say this is a trap, and if we try to string the trap, we're gonna get caught. And so he doesn't want to put Saw in that position. He's kind of saying the deal's off. Saw kind of figures it out, and then now he's like, oh my gosh, Luthen, you have spies everywhere. And then this is kind of a prelude, a little forecasting, a little foreshadowing of Saw's paranoia, because like, who's listening, can't trust anybody, and really what happens here is that Luthen's like, Krieger has to go down, because we can't let on that they know what they're doing and try to rescue him, and Krieger is going to essentially fall into the Imperial hands. And Saw has this really interesting thing like, well, am I valuable? Am I, it's like, well, again, Krieger's basically expendable, because they've been in the same room, but Krieger doesn't know Luthen and all this kind of stuff. And it's like that war in between war and information is power and all those kind of interesting things that happen. And so this is where we get the line in the trailer, call it what you will. And Saw's like, well, we're going to call it war. So it's interesting too, like, I think I mentioned this earlier, like trailers, usually it's the first 4 episodes. And honestly, with these trailers, we pretty much got all the way to the end here, and there's little bits that we've seen all the way throughout the episode, which I find fascinating, because like usually it's only the first 4 episodes and then we haven't seen anything. That's usually been how these trailers are cut, but for whatever reason, Andor, we're actually getting a lot more little tidbits, little scenes, little things that have actually been throughout this whole season, which is really cool. And then we gotta get to my favorite part of the show, of this show, and me and Trent were just like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. So we leave like basically Krieger is a sacrifice to war, and then Luthen leaves, and he kind of updates Keela about the successful sale with Saw. They're talking in code, but basically, and so they have this kind of banter about a crowded market and blah, 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 and there's some different buyers. So as he terminates this transmission, because he knows that there's something going on, it kind of gets blocked. This is my favorite. It's just so good, and it's going to tie into trivia this week. So here we go. So we have a Content Well class arrestor cruiser, which has these 3 big radar dishes, and pulls in Luthen with the big old tractor beam. And so we have another great casting with an Imperial captain, and he's like, we're gonna do this as a test, and just kind of bring him in. And Luthen is getting a new transponder code and trying to pull him off, and then as they're pulling him in for inspection, Luthen's firing up the jets, and we're like, hey, you got to stop doing that. And then, and essentially he launches these countermeasures from his ship, and it blows up the radar dish. It's super cool. He escapes, breaks away, and then we have TIE fighter pilots and a big old TIE bomber, it's like not a TIE bomber, it's a TIE boarding craft. And so Luthen circles around, and then we get to see this, like, I don't know what it is. It looks like a Darth Maul laser ray or something that essentially cuts out the 2 TIE fighters. And again, this was a clip we got to see right before Andor launched. There was like a little TV clip where we see this kind of Darth Maul spinning ship taking out the thing, and then in the trailer we get to see this explosion too, and so we finally get to see it. I think this is my new favorite ship. I just love the Arrestor Cruiser, and I don't want to say more because I have a trivia question that I want to use, so I'm not going to say more, but Trent and I just loved this whole scene and loved just the aesthetics and the design of the interaction between Luthen and the Imperials. So good. So awesome. Even the Imperial's face, like after he escapes, is like, yeah, this is gonna be hard to explain to the boss, It was great. So, then that happens. Okay, great. And, oh, that's right. So then we kind of go back to, we have Ferrix. We see the radio guy. Andor contacts him and basically says, your mother's dead. Andor's message was like, everything's all right. Tell him we're okay, and I will speak to her soon. And that's where Melshi's like, hey, we got to tell some people. I'm going to get out of here. And we have Andor kind of looking at the sun, or watching the oceans on the waves on the ocean and the setting sun, and he's sad and reflective, and that's how the episode ends. Crazy. I really enjoyed this episode. Again, the maturity of the dialogue, what's going on between Saw and Luthen is so fantastic. And again, like even Andor and Melshi, like Andor's not telling everything and trying to keep it positive, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's really good. I love how Mon Mothma is like in her own prison, but she's free, and then Luthen, or like Andor's trying to get out of his prison, and there's just, and that kind of goes back to that Rogue One line that Chirrut says about Andor. We find out that some of our prisons are not behind bars, and that's plays really, really true in what's happening with Mon Mothma and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, really great, really great. And I honestly, I don't want to overthink like episode 12, because I really don't want to have like all these things planned out, but I'm really excited of where this is going. I'm sure we're going to probably see a little courtship of Leia, the Lita thing, with Mon Mothma's daughter. Maybe Sabril and Miro meet up again in Ferrix. I don't know. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of the Ferrix possession. That was one of the things that they said, is that part of Ferrix's tradition is that her ashes are going to be in a brick and be of like a foundation, and in the new building, which I thought was kind of interesting, a kind of cool custom. But yeah, there's so much to see and do, and I don't know if they're going to link Andor and Luthen, or Luthen and Andor are going to connect. I don't know if Miro's going to find out. Like, there's all these things that could and should happen, but you never know what's going to be done in the last episode. And again, something to tease us for second season. It's hard to say, so I don't want to say too much. I just say there's still a lot of different threads happening that I'm really enjoying, and it's really, really great. So there you have it, episode 11, Daughther of Ferrix. Very, very cool. Okay, so we have this new trivia section in our we just started this. I don't know. It's a thing. This is what's happening. So okay, let's see here. Let's see. Do I have any answers from our last one? No. What is happening, people? What is happening? Okay, let's try it this week. Here we go. For a little swag pack, here we go. Light It All Up is our trivia section, and we're just starting this. So, okay, for this new ship that was introduced in Andor, episode 11, the Rester class ship, what was its original name that it was given? And as an extra bonus, when was this originally created in Star Wars? So yeah, there you go. That's the question of the week. If you can get that, please email us at bigtlittlepodcast@gmail.com. If you answer it correctly, me and Little T will send you a swag pack and all that fun stuff. So, let us know. Big T, Little T bigtlittlepodcast@gmail.com. Give us that answer, and we will read the correct answer on our next episode. All right, that's it. Thanks again, Space Wizards, Plastic Spacemen, and Rebel Princesses, for listening to another episode of Big T and Little T, a Star Wars podcast. You can find us on the socials, Big T, Little T Podcast on Instagram, BLILT Podcast on Twitter, and then twitch.tv/Big T, Little T. We got stickers. We want to hear from you. So comment, rate us on Apple Podcasts, and email that to bigtlittlepodcast@gmail.com. And that's another way to get some free swag. Next week, big one, episode 12. We're going to be reviewing that and Andor as a series with our good friends Keith and Kerwin from Father and Son Galaxy. And we're going to be celebrating our 3-year anniversary. So we're super excited for that. So check that out for episode 125. Now remember, truly wonderful the mind of a child is. And may the Force be with you always. Bye. See you later. Bye, bye, bye.